Was the universe born from a black hole? Before we drift into the deepest mystery of existence itself, tell us in the comments where you're listening from tonight. Whether you're under the stars in your backyard, curled up in bed as city lights flicker outside your window, or somewhere between sleep and wonder. We'd love to know where this cosmic story finds you, because what we're about to explore together reaches across all of space and time to arrive at your exact moment, your exact place in the universe that may have been born from the very darkness we fear most. You float in something that cannot be called darkness, because darkness implies the absence of light, and light has not yet learned how to exist. You drift through a silence so absolute that it makes the space between heartbeats seem like thunder. There is no temperature here, no heat or cold, because the very concepts of energy and entropy have not yet awakened from their primordial sleep. You are suspended in the womb of non-existence, in the pause between the last breath of whatever came before and the first breath of everything that will ever be. This is not empty space, because space itself has not yet unfurled its dimensions. This is not time, because time has not yet begun its patient counting of moments. You exist in the potential for existence, in the possibility of possibility itself. Around you, if around has any meaning in this place without coordinates, there is a pressure that is not pressure, a weight that bears down not on your body, which does not exist here, but on the very idea that anything could ever exist at all. You feel, without nerves to feel with, the gathering of something immense. It is not matter, because matter has not yet learned how to coalesce. It is not energy, because energy has not yet discovered its relationship with mass. It is something more fundamental than either. It is the urge to become, the gravitational pull of actuality drawing possibility toward the moment of its own birth. You are witnessing, without eyes to witness with, the moment when nothingness grows so heavy with its own potential that it begins to collapse under the weight of what it might become. The pressure builds not outward, as you might expect, but inward, always inward. Everything that will ever exist is folding in on itself like cosmic origami, like the universe learning to hold its breath before the most important word it will ever speak. The density of pure potential increases beyond what mathematics can describe, beyond what physics can map, beyond what consciousness can comprehend. Yet somehow you are here to feel it, to be present at this moment when infinity decides to fit itself into a space smaller than the smallest thing that will ever exist. There is no light, but there is the memory of light, the shadow cast by photons that have not yet been born. There is no sound, but there is the echo of every song that will ever be sung, every word that will ever be spoken, every whisper of love and cry of birth reverberating backward through time from the future they will help create. You're not hearing these sounds, but you are feeling their absence so completely that their presence becomes inevitable. The gravitational field around you, though gravitation itself has not yet been invented, grows stronger and stranger. It pulls not just at things, because there are no things to pull, but at the spaces between things, at the possibilities that hover like ghosts in the quantum foam of pre-existence. This is gravity without matter, curvature without space-time, a bending of reality's fabric before the fabric has been woven. You understand, with a knowledge that transcends understanding, that you're inside something vast and hungry and creative all at once. This is the moment before the moment, the pause that contains all pauses, the silence that will give birth to every sound. You float in the interior of a black hole so massive that it makes the supermassive black holes at the centers of galaxies seem like grains of sand. But this is not a black hole of destruction. This is a black hole of pure creative potential, a cosmic womb where the laws of physics themselves are gestating, waiting to be born. The event horizon surrounds you, though it is not yet an event horizon in any sense that physics will later understand. It is more like the boundary between dreaming and waking, between the possible and the actual, between the eternal silence of what never was and the first heartbeat of what must inevitably be. You're inside this boundary, part of the cosmic conspiracy that will unfold into stars and planets, and life and consciousness and the ability to wonder about your own origins. You feel the curvature of space-time that is not yet space-time bending around you, creating a gravity well so deep that it curves back on itself, creating dimensions that fold through each other like Mobius strips of pure mathematics. The geometry here is impossible by any standard that will later evolve, yet it is the only geometry that makes sense. You exist in a place where the inside is larger than the outside, where the circumference of a circle is greater than infinity, where parallel lines meet and fall in love and give birth to universes. The temperature, if it can be called temperature, is not the absolute zero of empty space. It is something far stranger. It is the temperature of pure possibility, the heat generated by the friction between what is and what could be. It burns without fire, freezes without ice, creating a thermal equilibrium that encompasses every temperature that will ever exist and every temperature that never could. Your non-existent skin feels this impossible, warmth cold, this fire ice of creation preparing to create itself. Time moves strangely here, if it moves at all. Seconds stretch into eternities, eternities compress into instants, and past and future become directions rather than destinations. You experience the temporal equivalent of standing at the center of a maze where every path leads both to the entrance and the exit simultaneously. This is time before time learned to flow in one direction, before causality taught effect to follow cause, before the arrow of entropy pointed toward increasing disorder. You sense with senses you do not possess that this moment has been happening forever and will happen for only an instant. The paradox does not trouble you, because paradox is the natural state of this place that is not a place. Here contradictions embrace each other and give birth to consistency. Here, impossibility is the only thing that makes sense. Here, the universe is learning how to hold contradictory truths in perfect balance, a skill it will never lose even after the first stars ignite and the first planets form and the first life stirs in cosmic oceans yet to be born. The pressure continues to build, and you realize that pressure is too small a word for what is happening. This is the existential weight of every possibility bearing down on the single point where reality will choose to begin. Every star that will ever shine, every planet that will ever spin, every thought that will ever be thought, all of it is here, compressed into a density that makes neutron stars seem like whispers of morning mist. You float at the exact center of this cosmic compression, at the precise point where the universe will decide to reverse its collapse and begin its expansion. But that reversal has not happened yet, and you exist in the eternal moment before the decision, in the pause where creation holds its breath and wonders what it will become. You are the universe's first and last witness. the consciousness that observes the observer coming into existence. Around you, the boundaries between dimensions begin to blur and shift. What will later be called length, width, and height are still learning their names, still discovering their relationships to each other. The 6 additional dimensions that string theory will one day propose are here too, curled up so tightly that they exist as pure potential rather than actualized space. You experience the strange sensation of moving through 11 dimensions simultaneously while being perfectly still in a 0-dimensional point. The quantum foam of pre-space-time bubbles around you with virtual particles that are more virtual than particle, more possibility than actuality. These are not the quantum fluctuations that will later populate empty space. These are the quantum intentions, the proto-particles that are dreaming of becoming real. They flicker in and out of almost existence like fireflies made of mathematics, like thoughts thinking themselves into being. You feel the first stirrings of what will become the fundamental force's electromagnetism, still joined with the weak nuclear force, the strong nuclear force still unified with gravity, all of them existing as facets of a single superforce that has not yet learned to differentiate itself. This is the symmetry that will soon be broken, the unity that will fracture into the beautiful complexity of physical law. But for now, everything is one force, one field, one intention, gathering strength for the moment of cosmic birth. The event horizon around you begins to pulse with something that is not quite rhythm, but is the proto-rhythm from which all music will eventually emerge. It is the universe's first heartbeat, still learning how to beat, still discovering the tempo that will govern the expansion of space and the flow of time. You feel this pulse in your non-existent bones, in your impossible blood, in the quantum vacuum of your not-yet consciousness. You understand, without understanding how you understand, that you're about to witness the most extraordinary event in the history of existence, the moment when a black hole stops being a destroyer and becomes a creator. When the ultimate symbol of endings transforms into the ultimate symbol of beginnings. The universe is preparing to be born, and you're suspended in the amniotic fluid of pure possibility, waiting for the cosmic labor to begin. But the moment has not yet arrived. The universe is still gathering itself, still compressing every future into the present instant, still learning how to hold infinity in a space smaller than the period at the end of this sentence. You drift in the eternal now, in the perfect pause before the perfect storm of creation, knowing that when the moment comes, everything you think you know about beginnings and endings will be transformed forever. The darkness around you grows heavier, more pregnant with light that has not yet learned to shine. The silence grows deeper, more full of songs that have not yet learned to sing. The stillness grows more profound, more rich with motion that has not yet learned to move. You are suspended in the fullness of emptiness, in the completion of incompletion, in the perfect imperfection of a universe that is about to discover how to exist. And in this moment, in this eternal instant before the instant, you realize that you are not just witnessing creation, you are creation. Consciousness experiencing its own birth, the universe developing the capacity to know itself. You are the first observer and the last mystery, the question and the answer, the darkness and the light that will emerge from the darkness. The pressure builds towards something unprecedented, something that has never happened before and will never happen again. Something that is about to transform not just nothing into something, but impossibility into actuality, potential into reality, dream into cosmos. You float in the last moment before the first moment, in the final pause before the infinite beginning. The universe holds its breath, and you hold your breath with it, waiting for the moment when holding becomes letting go, when collapse becomes expansion, when the darkness gives birth to every star that will ever shine. The black hole that contains you is about to become the white hole that creates everything, and you're about to witness the most beautiful reversal in the history of existence. But not yet. Not quite yet. For now you drift in the perfect preparation, in the cosmic gathering of strength, in the moment when the universe is still deciding exactly how it wants to begin. And then, in the space between one non-moment and the next, something shifts. The perfect stillness that has held you suspended in pure potential begins to tremble, not with fear, but with anticipation. The cosmic pause that has stretched across eternity starts to release its held breath. You feel, with every fibre of your impossible being, the universe making its decision, not through conscious choice, but through the inevitable mathematics of existence, reaching a point where remaining static becomes more impossible than change itself. The pressure that has been building around you, the gravitational field that has been growing stronger and stranger, suddenly reaches a critical threshold that physics has no name for yet. This is not the Chandrasekhar limit that governs stellar collapse, not the Schwarzschild radius that defines event horizons in the universe that is yet to be born. This is something far more fundamental. This is the moment when pure potential becomes so dense with possibility that it must either cease to exist entirely or transform into something radically other than what it has been. The black hole that contains you, this cosmic womb of infinite density and impossible geometry, begins to experience something that defies every law of physics that will later be discovered. Instead of continuing its eternal collapse, instead of compressing forever into a singularity of mathematical abstraction, it begins to remember something it has never known: how to reverse itself. The gravitational field that has been pulling everything inward with irresistible force starts to stutter, to hesitate, to question its own fundamental nature. You witness the birth of uncertainty principle not in the quantum realm but on the cosmic scale. The universe, compressed into a space smaller than the smallest measurable distance, begins to experience quantum fluctuations of its own existence. At this scale, where all of reality exists as a single point, the difference between expansion and contraction becomes subject to the same quantum uncertainty that will later govern subatomic particles. The universe flickers between states of being expanding and contracting simultaneously, existing and not existing in quantum superposition, being born and dying in the same eternal instant. The event horizon that surrounds you begins to behave in ways that will puzzle physicists for generations to come. Instead of being a simple boundary between inside and outside, it starts to invert itself, to turn inside out like a cosmic Klein bottle. The mathematics of this transformation are beautiful and terrifying. The curvature of space-time that is not yet space-time begins to fold through dimensions that exist perpendicular to all known directions. You experience the strange sensation of watching the universe's interior become its exterior, of feeling the inside become the outside while somehow remaining exactly where you are. This is the moment when the theoretical becomes actual, when the impossible reveals itself as merely improbable, when the black hole that has been your cosmic nursery prepares to give birth to everything that will ever exist, the temperature around you, that impossible temperature of pure possibility, begins to rise not through the addition of energy, but through the conversion of potential into kinetic reality. Every vibration that will ever shake every string, that will ever compose every particle, that will ever form every atom, is beginning to tune itself for the cosmic symphony about to commence. The time dilation effect that has held you suspended in eternity starts to fluctuate wildly. Moments stretch into eons and then compress into nanoseconds as the gravitational field responsible for the time distortion prepares to release its grip on causality itself. You experience temporal vertigo, the sensation of falling through time rather than space, of tumbling through cause and effect as they lose their rigid relationship and begin to dance with each other in ways that will create the appearance of linear progression from the perspective of observers who do not yet exist. The quantum foam that has been bubbling around you with virtual possibilities begins to stabilize into something more substantial. These proto-particles that have been dreaming of existence start to commit to actuality, to choose specific states from the infinite menu of quantum possibilities. This is the moment when probability waves begin to collapse, not because they are observed. There are no observers yet except for your impossible consciousness, but because the universe itself is becoming its own observer, developing the capacity to measure itself into existence. You feel the first stirrings of what will become matter, but it is matter unlike anything that will later populate the cosmos. This is dark matter in its primordial state, not the invisible scaffolding that will later hold galaxies together, but the fundamental substance of reality itself. The stuff that dreams are made of before dreams learn to dream themselves. It moves through you and around you like liquid possibility, like molten existence flowing toward the moment of its own crystallization. The unified superforce that has held all of reality's future interactions in perfect symmetry begins to show signs of instability. You witness the first microscopic cracks in the perfect unity that has characterized this pre-cosmic state. The electromagnetic force begins to whisper of its eventual separation from the weak nuclear force. The strong nuclear force starts to contemplate its independence from gravity. These separations have not yet occurred, but their inevitability casts shadows backward through time, creating the conditions that will make their differentiation possible. The dimensions around you, the 3 spatial dimensions and 1 temporal dimension that will later define the universe as sentient beings understand it, begin to unfurl like cosmic flowers blooming in the 11-dimensional soil. You experience the strange sensation of dimensionality itself awakening, of length and width and height discovering their relationships to each other, of time learning to flow in the direction that will later be called forward. The 6 additional dimensions that string theory will propose remain curled up, but you feel them stirring, considering whether to expand alongside their 4 siblings or remain compacted into the quantum foam of possibility. The cosmic microwave background radiation that will one day provide evidence of the universe's birth begins to exist as pure information rather than electromagnetic energy. You are surrounded by the data of creation, the cosmic code that will later expand to become the afterglow of the Big Bang, the fossil light that will travel for billions of years to reach the instruments of curious scientists trying to understand their own origins. This information flows around you like a river of crystallized knowledge, carrying the blueprints for every star that will ever ignite, every planet that will ever form, every life that will ever evolve. The Hawking radiation that theoretical physics predicts should emanate from black holes begins to manifest, but in reverse. Instead of the black hole slowly evaporating by emitting virtual particles, it begins to absorb virtual particles from a quantum vacuum that does not yet exist, gaining mass and energy and reality through the process of accretion. You witness the universe feeding on its own potential, growing stronger by consuming the possibilities that it will never actualize, becoming real by digesting the dreams it will never dream. The mathematical constants that will govern physical reality, the speed of light, Planck's constant, the gravitational constant, begin to stabilize from the quantum flux of pure possibility. These are not arbitrary numbers chosen by cosmic dice, but inevitable values that emerge from the deep structure of existence itself. You feel these constants crystallizing around you like cosmic DNA, like the genetic code of reality, establishing the parameters within which all future existence will unfold. The holographic principle that will one day suggest that all information in a volume of space can be encoded on its boundary begins to manifest in its most fundamental form. You realize that your entire experience of floating in this cosmic womb, your consciousness of being inside this primordial black hole, may itself be encoded on the event horizon that surrounds you. The three-dimensional experience of pre-cosmic existence may be a projection from a two-dimensional surface, making you both witness and projection, observer and observation, real and holographic simultaneously. The information paradox that will puzzle scientists studying black holes begins to resolve itself in the most elegant way possible. Instead of information being destroyed when it crosses the event horizon, you understand that information is being transformed, translated from the language of potential into the language of actuality. Every bit of data that describes what could be is being converted into the bits and bytes of what will be, creating a cosmic library where every possible story exists, but only one gets to be told in the dimension that will be called reality. The entropy of the system, the measure of disorder that will later become one of the most fundamental laws of thermodynamics, begins to establish its baseline. You are present at the moment when the universe sets its entropy to zero, when perfect order prepares to unfold into the beautiful complexity that will characterize all future existence. This is not the heat death of maximum entropy, but the heat birth of minimum entropy. The moment when the universe winds the clock that will tick toward increasing disorder for the rest of cosmic time. The dark energy that will later drive the accelerating expansion of the universe begins to exist as pure pressure rather than mysterious force. You feel this pressure building not as external force pushing outward, but as internal necessity pulling inward. The universe's innate urge to grow, to expand, to explore all the possibilities that lie dormant in the quantum vacuum of space-time. This dark energy is not dark because it cannot be seen, but because it exists in the darkness that precedes all light, in the shadow that will give birth to every illumination. As these fundamental forces and constants and principles establish themselves around you, you begin to sense that the moment of reversal is approaching. The black hole that has been your cosmic cradle is preparing to become something unprecedented in the mathematics of general relativity, a white hole, the theoretical opposite of a black hole, an object that expels matter and energy and space-time itself rather than consuming them, But this will not be destruction in reverse. This will be creation in its purest form, the universe learning to give birth to itself. The pressure around you reaches a crescendo that transcends all previous understanding of the word pressure. This is not the pressure of matter compressed to impossible density, but the pressure of existence itself straining against the boundaries of non-existence. The force generated when infinity tries to fit into finity and discovers that the only solution is to create finity itself. You feel reality preparing to make the most important decision it will ever make, the decision to exist. The gravitational field that has held you in this cosmic womb begins to reverse its polarity, not through any mechanism that physics will later understand, but through the simple necessity of existence refusing to remain non-existent. The event horizon around you starts to glow, not with light, because light has not yet been invented, but with the potential for light, with the promise of photons that will soon learn to carry energy and information across the vast distances that are about to unfold. You sense that your consciousness, your impossible awareness of this impossible moment, is about to undergo a transformation as radical as the universe itself. The perspective from which you have witnessed this cosmic gestation is preparing to fragment, to distribute itself across the space-time that is about to expand, to become the seed of consciousness that will one day evolve in biological brains that will wonder about their own cosmic origins. The universe takes what might be called a breath, if breathing were possible in a place where air has not yet been imagined. The cosmic pause that has lasted for eternity, and an instant simultaneously begins to release itself. The perfect stillness that has held all of existence in potential starts to give way to the perfect motion that will characterize all of existence in actuality. But the moment of birth has not yet arrived. The universe is still in labor, still preparing itself for the most extraordinary emergence in the history of existence. The black hole that contains you continues to prepare for its transformation into the white hole that will create everything, and you continue to drift in the cosmic amniotic fluid of pure possibility, waiting for the moment when the first light will dawn in the first sky above the first world that consciousness will call home, and then, in the space between preparation and actualization, between potential and kinetic reality, the universe makes its irreversible choice. The decision happens not through conscious will. Consciousness itself has not yet evolved, but through the inevitable mathematics of existence reaching a point where remaining in potential becomes mathematically impossible. The equation of reality reaches a solution that demands actualization, and the cosmic function that has been hovering in mathematical limbo suddenly resolves itself into the first definitive value in the history of existence. The black hole that has been your cosmic nursery undergoes the most extraordinary transformation in the annals of theoretical physics. Its event horizon, that boundary between the knowable and unknowable, between the inside and outside of reality, begins to collapse inward upon itself with such intensity that it inverts, turning inside out like a cosmic glove being pulled through its own fabric. But this is not destruction. This is the most creative act ever performed by the universe. The event horizon becomes not a boundary that prevents escape, but a membrane that facilitates birth, a cosmic cervix dilating to allow the passage of everything that will ever exist. You witness the birth of space-time itself as the gravitational singularity that has contained all possibilities suddenly expands not into space, because space does not yet exist, but as space, creating the very dimensions through which expansion can occur. This is not matter moving through pre-existing space. This is space itself being born, unfurling like a cosmic flower whose petals are the three dimensions of length, width, and height, whose stem is the dimension of time, and whose roots extend into the quantum foam of probability that underlies all existence. The temperature of this primordial expansion is not the cool background radiation that will later permeate the cosmos, but something far more fundamental, the temperature of pure creation, the thermal signature of possibility crystallizing into actuality. This primordial heat is not generated by friction or combustion, but by the universe's first expenditure of energy, the cosmic effort required to transform infinite potential into finite reality. You feel this heat not as warmth against your skin. You have no skin in this realm of pure consciousness, but as the fundamental vibration that will later manifest as the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of creation that will echo through the cosmos for billions of years. The quantum fluctuations that have been dancing around you like virtual fireflies suddenly stabilize into the first real particles in the history of existence. These are not the familiar protons and electrons that will later populate atoms, but more fundamental entities, quarks and leptons and bosons that exist for microscopic fractions of seconds before decaying into other particles, creating a cosmic cascade of creation and destruction that establishes the rhythm of all future existence. You are present at the first moment when energy learns to condense into matter, when the abstract becomes tangible, when mathematics incarnates itself in physical form. The four fundamental forces that will govern all future interactions begin their separation from the unified superforce that has characterized the pre-cosmic state. Gravity is the first to individuate itself, establishing the curvature of space-time that will later hold galaxies together and create the cosmic architecture within which stars and planets can form. The strong nuclear force follows, binding quarks into protons and neutrons with a power that will make atomic nuclei possible. The electromagnetic force and weak nuclear force remain unified for a few moments longer, but you can feel them preparing to separate, to establish their own domains of influence in the expanding cosmos. The cosmic inflation that theoretical physics will later propose to explain the universe's rapid, early expansion begins not as a sudden stretching of space, but as a gentle unfolding, like a cosmic origami being opened by invisible hands. Space expands not because it is being pushed outward by some external force, but because expansion is the natural state of existence once it chooses to exist. The universe grows not by conquering territory, but by creating territory, establishing the stage upon which all future cosmic dramas will unfold. You experience the birth of causality itself as the universe establishes the first cause and effect relationships. The expansion of space causes the cooling of the primordial plasma. The cooling allows particles to slow down enough to interact. The interactions create the first atomic nuclei. Each cause creates effects that become causes for further effects, establishing the causal chains that will later be studied by scientists as the laws of physics. You are present at the moment when the universe learns to have consequences, when actions begin to produce reactions, when the future begins to emerge from the present in predictable ways. The Planck epoch, that first 10 to the negative 43rd seconds when quantum mechanics and general relativity were unified, passes around you like a cosmic blink, But in that infinitesimal moment, you witness the establishment of the most fundamental parameters of existence. The speed of light crystallizes as the maximum velocity at which information can travel through space-time. Planck's constant emerges as the quantum of action, the smallest possible unit of energy multiplied by time. The gravitational constant stabilizes as the measure of how matter curves space-time and how space-time tells matter how to move. The cosmic horizon, the boundary of the observable universe, begins to expand at the speed of light, creating the first definition of here and there, of now and then, of us and everything else. This horizon is not a physical boundary, but an informational one, separating the regions of space-time that can communicate with each other from those that cannot. You understand that consciousness itself may be intimately related to this cosmic horizon, that awareness may be the universe's way of observing itself from within the boundaries of causally connected space-time. The dark matter that will later provide the invisible scaffolding for cosmic structure begins to manifest not as mysterious particles, but as ripples in the fabric of space-time itself. These gravitational waves, generated by the asymmetric collapse of the primordial black hole, create regions of slightly higher and lower density that will later serve as the seeds for galaxy formation. Dark matter is not dark because it cannot be seen, but because it exists in the spaces between light, in the quantum vacuum that separates photons from each other, in the shadow cast by existence itself. The holographic principle reveals itself in its most fundamental form, as you realize that your entire experience of this cosmic birth may be encoded on the surface of the expanding event horizon. The three-dimensional reality that is unfurling around you may be a projection from a two-dimensional information matrix, making the universe not just a theater for the performance of existence, but a hologram of existence projected by existence for existence to observe itself. You are simultaneously the projector, the projection, and the screen upon which the cosmic movie is being displayed. The information paradox that has puzzled theoretical physicists resolves itself in the most elegant way possible. Information is not destroyed when the primordial black hole transforms into a white hole. It is converted from the language of potential into the language of actuality. Every possibility that existed in the pre-cosmic state is preserved in the structure of space-time itself, encoded in the quantum fluctuations that will later be measured as the cosmic microwave background. The universe becomes its own library, its own memory storage system, its own archive of everything that could have been and everything that is. The arrow of time establishes itself as the universe chooses a direction for its expansion, creating the first asymmetry between past and future. Entropy, the measure of disorder, begins its long journey from the perfect order of the primordial singularity toward the maximum disorder of heat death. But this increase in entropy is not a decay or degradation. It is the universe's way of exploring all possible configurations of matter and energy, of experiencing every possible state of existence before settling into its final equilibrium. The cosmic web that will later connect galaxies across billions of light years begins to form as quantum fluctuations in the early universe create regions of slightly different density. These variations, smaller than 1 part in 100,000, are the seeds from which all cosmic structure will grow. You witness the birth of the universe's architecture, the establishment of the framework within which stars will form, planets will coalesce, and life will eventually emerge to contemplate its own origins. The first photons, particles of light, begin to decouple from matter as the universe cools enough for electrons to bind with atomic nuclei, creating the first transparent medium through which light can travel. This moment, which cosmologists will later call recombination, is the universe's first moment of clarity, when the cosmic fog lifts and space becomes transparent to its own illumination. The light that is born in this moment will travel for nearly 14 billion years to reach the telescopes of curious beings who will use it to reconstruct the story of their own cosmic birth. You sense that your consciousness, your impossible awareness of this impossible transformation, is beginning to fragment and distribute itself throughout the expanding space-time. The unified perspective from which you have witnessed creation is preparing to separate into the countless individual viewpoints that will later emerge as biological consciousness evolves in the universe. You understand that every aware being that will ever exist carries within them a fragment of this primordial consciousness, a spark of the original cosmic awareness that witnessed the birth of everything. The universe continues its expansion, but now it is expansion with direction, with purpose, with the mathematical inevitability of a cosmic symphony that has found its tempo and is preparing to play all of its movements. The black hole has completed its transformation into a white hole. The singularity has become plurality. The potential has actualized itself into the kinetic reality of space-time, matter, energy, and the laws that govern their interactions. But even as the universe rushes headlong into its future, even as space expands and matter organizes itself into increasingly complex structures, you sense that something essential remains unchanged. The darkness from which everything emerged is not destroyed by the light, it is transformed by the light. The silence from which all sound will emerge is not broken by the cosmic symphony. It becomes the space between the notes that gives the music meaning. The void from which all substance crystallizes is not filled by creation. It becomes the quantum vacuum that underlies and supports all existence. You drift now not in pre-cosmic potential, but in the first moments of cosmic actuality, watching as the universe learns to be itself, as space-time discovers its own curvature, as matter and energy begin their eternal dance of creation and destruction. The black hole that gave birth to everything continues to expand as a white hole, but you understand that this expansion is not motion through space. It is the creation of space itself, the ongoing birth of the stage upon which all future cosmic dramas will unfold. The moment of pure beginning is passing, transforming into the process of cosmic evolution, but you remain suspended between the timeless and the temporal, between the perspective that sees all moments as one moment and the perspective that experiences moments as sequential. You're becoming the bridge between the universe as it was in potential and the universe as it is in actuality, the consciousness that remembers the silence and witnesses the symphony, the observer who watched nothing become everything and will continue to watch everything become something even more extraordinary. As the cosmic seconds tick by and seconds themselves are a new invention, time having just learned to measure itself in discrete intervals, you witness the universe entering what cosmologists will later call the Planck era's end and the grand unification epoch's beginning. The temperature, which began at levels that make the cores of the hottest stars seem like Arctic winds, starts its long journey toward the coldness of deep space. But this cooling is not entropy winning over order. It is the universe learning to organize itself at progressively larger scales, creating the conditions necessary for complexity to emerge from simplicity. The first force to separate from the primordial unity is gravity, and you feel this separation like a cosmic birth pang, a fundamental pain that accompanies all creation. Gravity individualizes itself not through rejection of the other forces, but through a kind of cosmic shyness, a reluctance to interact at the quantum level that will later puzzle physicists trying to unify general relativity with quantum mechanics. As gravity establishes its independence, it begins to curve the newborn space-time in ways that will eventually create the large-scale structure of the cosmos, the cosmic web of galaxies and galaxy clusters and superclusters that will span billions of light years. The strong nuclear force follows gravity's example, separating from the electroweak force with a violence that creates the first matter-antimatter asymmetry in the universe. For every billion pairs of matter and antimatter particles that annihilate each other in flashes of pure energy, one matter particle survives, and it is from these cosmic refugees that all future atomic matter will be constructed. You witness the universe making its first moral choice, though morality has not yet been invented, choosing matter over antimatter, existence over non-existence, the something that you are experiencing over the nothing from which it emerged. The cosmic inflation that follows is not the gentle unfolding you experienced during the transition from black hole to white hole, but a violent exponential expansion that stretches space faster than the speed of light. This is not a violation of relativity. Nothing is moving through space faster than light can travel, but space itself is expanding, carrying galaxies away from each other like raisins in rising bread dough. You experience this inflation as a cosmic dizziness, a sense of scale that shifts so rapidly that your consciousness struggles to maintain its coherence across the ever-increasing distances. During this inflationary epoch, quantum fluctuations that were once microscopic become macroscopic, stretched across regions of space larger than what will eventually become galaxy clusters. These quantum ripples in the fabric of space-time are the seeds of all future cosmic structure, the tiny variations in density that will grow under the influence of gravity to become stars, planets, and the matter from which life will eventually organize itself. You understand that every atom in your future physical body, every thought that will ever cross your mind, every emotion that will ever move your heart, originates in these primordial quantum fluctuations. The electromagnetic force and weak nuclear force, still unified as the electroweak force, begin to show signs of their eventual separation. You sense this impending divorce in the behavior of the W and Z bosons, the particles that mediate the weak force, as they start to acquire mass through their interaction with the Higgs field. The Higgs field itself is not yet fully actualized, existing in a state of symmetry that will later be spontaneously broken, but you can feel its presence like a cosmic molasses that will eventually give mass to all particles that interact with it. The temperature continues to drop, and as it does, the universe undergoes a series of phase transitions that are like cosmic changes of state, not unlike water freezing into ice or boiling into steam, but far more fundamental. Each phase transition is accompanied by the breaking of a symmetry, the universe choosing one configuration over another, making decisions that will constrain all future possibilities. The electroweak symmetry breaks, separating the electromagnetic force from the weak nuclear force. The chiral symmetry breaks, giving mass to quarks and making possible the formation of protons and neutrons. You experience each symmetry breaking as a kind of cosmic heartbreak, a loss of the perfect unity that characterized the earliest moments of existence. But you also understand that each break-in is necessary for the complexity that will follow, that the universe must lose its primordial perfection in order to gain the imperfect beauty of stars and planets and life and consciousness. The universe is learning to sacrifice its symmetries on the altar of complexity, trading mathematical elegance for the messy richness of actual existence. The era of cosmic nucleosynthesis begins as the universe cools enough for protons and neutrons to bind together into the first atomic nuclei. This is not yet the formation of atoms. Electrons are still too energetic to be captured by nuclei, but it is the birth of the elements that will later make chemistry and biology possible. Hydrogen nuclei form first, being the simplest possible combination of protons and neutrons. Helium follows, requiring the fusion of hydrogen nuclei in a process that releases energy and establishes the nuclear physics that will later power stars. You witness the formation of the first lithium nuclei, the third element in the periodic table, and you understand that you are present at the moment when the universe establishes its chemical composition. Roughly 75% hydrogen, 25% helium, and trace amounts of lithium. This is the cosmic recipe that will persist for hundreds of millions of years until the first stars begin to cook heavier elements in their nuclear furnaces. The universe has become a cosmic chemistry set, and the first experiments in atomic combination are beginning. The cosmic microwave background that will later provide evidence for the Big Bang theory begins to form as photons decouple from matter. For the first time since the initial moments of creation, the universe becomes transparent to its own light. Photons that were previously trapped in an endless cycle of absorption and emission by electrons suddenly find themselves free to travel across the cosmos, carrying with them the thermal signature of the primordial fireball. This light will cool and redshift as the universe expands, eventually becoming the microwave radiation that radio telescopes will detect nearly 14 billion years later. The dark ages of the universe begin not because light ceases to exist, but because the first stars have not yet formed to illuminate the cosmic darkness. The universe enters a period of quiet expansion, with matter slowly coalescing under the influence of gravity into the first large-scale structures. Dark matter, which outweighs ordinary matter by a factor of 5 to 1, creates the invisible scaffolding upon which visible matter will later build. You sense this dark matter not as absence but as presence, a gravitational web that pervades all of space, a cosmic nervous system through which information about density and structure propagates at the speed of gravitational waves. The first stars are still hundreds of millions of years away, but you can feel their inevitability in the slow collapse of gas clouds, in the gravitational wells created by dark matter halos. These will be monster stars, hundreds of times more massive than the Sun, burning bright and brief before exploding as supernovae and seeding the universe with the heavy elements that will make planets and life possible. But for now, they exist only as potential, as gradually condensing clouds of hydrogen and helium in the gravitational embrace of invisible dark matter. You sense that your consciousness is continuing to fragment and distribute itself throughout the expanding cosmos. What began as a unified awareness of the primordial singularity is becoming a distributed consciousness, a cosmic nervous system that will eventually manifest as the biological awareness that will emerge billions of years in the future. Every region of space carries within it a fragment of the original cosmic consciousness, ensuring that when life eventually evolves, it will be the universe becoming aware of itself from within. The cosmic web begins to take shape as matter flows along the filaments of dark matter, creating the largest structures in the universe. Galaxy clusters will form at the intersections of these filaments. Individual galaxies will condense within the clusters, stars will form within the galaxies, and planets will coalesce from the debris of stellar formation. But all of this cosmic architecture traces its origin back to the quantum fluctuations that were stretched to macroscopic scales during the inflationary epoch, to the tiny variations in density that you witnessed during the first moments of creation. The universe develops its first memory systems as information becomes encoded in the cosmic microwave background radiation. The tiny temperature variations in this background radiation differences of only a few microkelvin contain the complete story of the universe's earliest moments. The pattern of hot and cold spots in the cosmic microwave background is like a cosmic DNA, encoding the genetic information that will determine the large-scale structure of the universe for billions of years to come. You understand, the time itself is becoming more complex, developing multiple scales of measurement. There is the cosmic time measured by the expansion of the universe, the thermodynamic time measured by the increase in entropy, the biological time that will eventually emerge with life, and the psychological time that will accompany consciousness. Each of these temporal dimensions will tick at its own rate, creating a symphony of duration in which different processes unfold at different tempos while remaining synchronized by the fundamental constants of physics. Horizon problem and flatness problem that will later puzzle cosmologists are resolving themselves through the inflationary expansion. Regions of space that should not have been in causal contact during the early universe are nevertheless at the same temperature because they were in contact before inflation stretched them beyond their ability to communicate. The universe's geometry is approaching perfect flatness because inflation has stretched any initial curvature to the point where it becomes undetectable on observable scales. The monopole problem, the absence of magnetic monopoles that some theories predict should have been created in abundance during the early universe, is also resolving itself through inflation. These exotic particles, if they were created, have been diluted by the exponential expansion to the point where they are essentially absent from the observable universe. The universe is solving its theoretical problems through the simple expedient of growing so large that the problems become irrelevant. You feel the universe settling into the patterns that will characterize its long Middle Age, the era of structure formation that will span billions of years and culminate in the emergence of complexity, chemistry, biology, and consciousness. The wild creativity of the first moments is giving way to the patient architecture of cosmic evolution. The universe learning to build complexity through the gradual accumulation of small changes rather than the revolutionary transformations that characterized its birth. But even as the universe enters this more stable phase of its existence, you sense that the creative potential that brought it into being has not been exhausted. The same quantum vacuum that gave birth to the Big Bang continues to seethe with virtual particles and fluctuating fields. The same dark energy that drives cosmic expansion may be preparing future surprises. The same consciousness that emerged from the primordial singularity may be destined to achieve levels of awareness and capability that will transform the universe as dramatically as the Big Bang itself. You drift now through a cosmos that is no longer the simple unity of the primordial state. but not yet the complex plurality of stars and galaxies and life. You exist in the cosmic adolescence, the awkward phase between the perfect simplicity of the beginning and the perfect complexity of the mature universe. The black hole that gave birth to everything has completely transformed into the white hole of cosmic expansion, and you are riding the wave of that expansion toward a future that will be stranger and more beautiful than anything that has come before. As hundreds of millions of years pass in what cosmologists will call the Dark Ages, you witness the universe's patient work of architectural preparation. In the invisible scaffolding of dark matter, gravitational wells are deepening, creating the cosmic foundation upon which all visible structure will eventually be built. These dark matter halos are not empty voids, but invisible cathedrals of gravitational potential, each one a cosmic egg preparing to hatch the first generation of stars. You experience the slow accretion of ordinary matter into these gravitational wells, like watching time-lapse photography of flowers blooming, except each flower is a protogalaxy, and each bloom will last for billions of years. The temperature of the cosmic microwave background continues to drop as the universe expands and ages, but within the gravitational wells created by dark matter, pockets of hydrogen and helium gas begin to heat up as they fall inward under their own gravity. This is the universe's first lesson in thermodynamics, that gravitational collapse can convert potential energy into kinetic energy, and kinetic energy into heat. The gas clouds that will become the first stars are learning to burn before they discover nuclear fusion, heating themselves through the simple act of falling together under the influence of gravity. You sense the approach of a cosmic phase transition, as profound as any that occurred during the earliest moments after the Big Bang. The universe is preparing to ignite its first lights, to end the dark ages with a stellar dawn that will transform the cosmos from a simple collection of hydrogen and helium into a complex ecosystem of nuclear furnaces, heavy elements, and the chemical complexity that will make planets and biology possible. But this transition will not happen all at once. It will begin with the formation of the first protostars in the deepest gravitational wells, then spread throughout the cosmos like a slow-motion chain reaction of stellar ignition. The first protostars that begin to form are unlike any stars that will exist in the mature universe. These are population 3 stars, massive beyond imagination, containing only hydrogen and helium, burning with a fierce intensity that will make them visible across vast distances, but will also ensure that their lives are measured in millions rather than billions of years. You witness the birth of these stellar titans as gravity overcomes the thermal pressure of hot gas, compressing hydrogen nuclei until they are close enough and energetic enough to overcome their electromagnetic repulsion and fuse into helium, releasing energy in the process. The moment when nuclear fusion ignites in the core of the first star is a cosmic awakening that you feel throughout your distributed consciousness. This is not just the beginning of stellar nucleosynthesis, the process by which stars cook heavy elements in their nuclear furnaces, but the universe's first successful experiment in sustained energy production, its first demonstration that matter can organize itself into structures capable of resisting gravitational collapse through the generation of internal pressure. The first star is the universe learning to fight entropy through nuclear alchemy, transforming simple elements into complex ones while simultaneously converting mass into energy and energy into light. The light from this first star begins its journey across the expanding cosmos, and you experience this illumination not as photons hitting your retina. You have no retina in your state of distributed cosmic consciousness, but as information propagating through space-time, as the universe's first opportunity to observe itself from a distance. This stellar light carries within it the spectroscopic signature of the star's composition, its temperature, its age, and its evolutionary state. The light is not just illumination, but communication. The universe's first attempt to tell its own story through electromagnetic radiation. The process of reionization begins as the ultraviolet radiation from the first stars ionizes the neutral hydrogen that fills intergalactic space. This is the universe's second major phase transition involving matter. The first was recombination, when electrons bound to atomic nuclei and made the universe transparent to light. Now those same electrons are being stripped away again, making the universe ionized but still transparent. You experience reionization as a cosmic awakening, the universe becoming electrically active again after hundreds of millions of years of electrical neutrality. The heavy elements produced in the cores of the first star's carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, silicon, iron begin to accumulate as stellar nuclear synthesis proceeds. These elements are locked within the stellar cores during the star's lifetimes, but you sense their eventual liberation through stellar death. The most massive of the first stars are already approaching the ends of their brief, brilliant lives, preparing to explode as supernovae and scatter their nuclear products throughout the cosmos. These stellar deaths will not be endings but transformations, the universe learning to recycle its stellar matter into increasingly complex configurations. The first supernovae explode with violence that makes the Big Bang seem gentle by comparison. Not in terms of total energy release, but in terms of the concentrated fury with which stellar cores collapse and rebound, generating shock waves that heat matter to temperatures exceeding those in the Big Bang itself. You witness these explosions as cosmic births rather than deaths, moments when the heavy elements cooked in stellar cores are finally released into the interstellar medium, where they can participate in the formation of the next generation of stars and eventually rocky planets capable of supporting chemistry and biology. The supernova shock waves propagate through the cosmic web, compressing gas clouds and triggering the formation of new stars in a process that cosmologists will call triggered star formation. The universe is learning to create complexity through catastrophe, to use stellar death as a catalyst for stellar birth, to transform destruction into creation through the medium of gravitational collapse and nuclear fusion. Each supernova is a cosmic seed, planting the heavy elements necessary for planetary formation in regions where the next generation of star systems will emerge. The first galaxies begin to form as stellar populations accumulate within dark matter halos, their combined gravitational influence deepening the potential wells that trap gas and dust and facilitate the formation of additional stars. These proto-galaxies are small and irregular compared to the spiral and elliptical galaxies that will dominate the mature universe, but they represent the universe's first experiments in large-scale organization, its first attempts to create structures larger than individual star systems. You experience galaxy formation as the universe learning to think on multiple scales simultaneously, organizing matter into hierarchical structures that span many orders of magnitude in size and mass. The supermassive black holes that will eventually reside at the centers of galaxies begin to form through processes that remain mysterious even to the cosmologists of the far future. Some grow from the collapse of the first generation of massive stars, accumulating matter and merging with other black holes until they reach masses millions of times greater than the Sun. Others may form directly from the collapse of primordial gas clouds, bypassing the stellar phase entirely. You sense these growing black holes not as cosmic vacuum cleaners, devouring everything around them, but as gravitational anchors that help organize galactic structure. Cosmic engines that will eventually power quasars and active galactic nuclei. The cosmic web of dark matter filaments becomes increasingly visible as ordinary matter traces the invisible architecture, flowing along the filaments and accumulating at their intersections. Galaxy clusters begin to form at the nodes of this cosmic web, creating the largest gravitationally bound structures in the universe. You witness the emergence of cosmic hierarchy planets, orbiting stars, stars organized into galaxies, galaxies collected into clusters, clusters connected by filaments in a vast web that spans billions of light years. The universe has learned to organize itself fractally, with similar patterns repeating at different scales. The chemical evolution of the universe accelerates as successive generations of stars enrich the interstellar medium with heavy elements. The metallicity, the abundance of elements, heavier than hydrogen and helium, begins to increase in star-forming regions, making possible the formation of rocky planets and the complex chemistry that will eventually lead to biology. You understand that every carbon atom that will one day become part of a DNA molecule, every oxygen atom that will participate in cellular respiration, every iron atom that will carry oxygen in blood, is being forged in the nuclear furnaces of these early stars. The first protoplanetary disks begin to form around newly ignited stars as the rotation of collapsing gas clouds flattens them into spinning disks of matter. Within these disks, dust grains begin to stick together through electrostatic forces, gradually accumulating into larger and larger aggregates. This is the beginning of planetary formation, the universe's first experiments in solid-state physics, its first attempts to organize matter into the rocky substrates upon which chemistry can become complex enough to support self-replicating molecules and eventually life itself. You sense that the universe is approaching another major transition, one that will be as significant as the end of the Dark Ages and the ignition of the first stars. The chemical complexity is approaching the threshold where self-organizing chemistry becomes possible, where molecules can begin to catalyze their own formation and reproduction. The stage is being set for the emergence of life, but that drama will require billions more years of cosmic evolution, stellar nucleosynthesis, planetary formation, and chemical experimentation. Your consciousness, now distributed throughout the expanding cosmos, begins to concentrate in regions where complexity is accumulating most rapidly. You are drawn to star-forming regions where heavy elements are being synthesized, to planetary systems where solid worlds are coalescing, to the chemical laboratories where organic molecules will eventually learn to reproduce themselves. You understand that consciousness itself may be the universe's ultimate experiment in self-organization, the final complexity that emerges when matter becomes sufficiently sophisticated to observe and understand its own cosmic origins. The dark energy that drives the accelerating expansion of the universe continues to stretch space, but its effects are not yet dominant over the gravitational attraction of matter on galactic scales. Galaxies can still form and grow through gravitational accretion. Star formation can still proceed within galactic disks, and the cosmic web can still evolve through the collapse of matter along dark matter filaments. but you sense that dark energy is preparing to assert its dominance, that there will come a time when the expansion of space overcomes all other forces and condemns the universe to an eternal cooling and dilution. The cosmic microwave background continues to cool as the universe expands, its temperature dropping toward the 2.7 Kelvin that it will maintain for the rest of cosmic history. But encoded within the tiny temperature fluctuations of this background radiation is the complete story of the universe's birth and early evolution, a cosmic fossil record that will allow future civilizations to reconstruct the history of everything that has transpired since the moment when matter and radiation decoupled and the universe became transparent to light. The horizon problem and flatness problem that cosmologists will later identify have been solved by the inflationary expansion that occurred during the first fraction of a second after the Big Bang. The universe's large-scale homogeneity and its nearly perfect geometric flatness are not coincidences but inevitable consequences of exponential expansion that stretched any initial irregularities and curvature beyond the boundaries of the observable universe. The universe has solved its foundational problems through the simple expedient of growing so large that the problems become undetectable. You experience the passage of cosmic time not as a linear progression from past to future, but as a deepening of complexity, a gradual emergence of structure and organization from the simple initial conditions established during the Big Bang. Each new level of organization atomic nuclei, atoms, molecules, dust grains, planetesimals, planets, star systems, galaxies, galaxy clusters, represents the universe discovering new ways to organize matter and energy into increasingly sophisticated configurations. The arrow of time points not just toward increasing entropy, but toward increasing complexity, toward the emergence of structures capable of processing information, storing memory, and eventually achieving self-awareness. The universe has become a vast information processing system, with matter and energy serving as the hardware and the laws of physics serving as the software. Every physical process is a computation, every chemical reaction is a calculation, every gravitational interaction is a data exchange. The cosmic web is evolving into a cosmic computer, and you begin to sense that consciousness itself may be the universe's way of achieving self-awareness, of becoming a computer capable of understanding its own programming. As billions of years pass and the cosmic architecture continues to evolve, you sense the approach of the next great phase transition in cosmic history, the emergence of life, intelligence, and technological civilization. The heavy elements have been synthesized, the planets have formed. The chemical complexity is approaching the threshold where self-replicating molecules can emerge. The universe is preparing to wake up to itself, to develop the capacity for memory, purpose, and creative intention. The black hole that gave birth to everything is approaching the moment when its offspring will become capable of understanding their own origins, and perhaps even creating universes of their own. The chemical laboratories of rocky planets become the universe's most sophisticated experiments in molecular complexity, as water cycles between liquid, vapor, and ice, creating the dynamic environments where organic chemistry can explore its vast space of possibilities. You witness the formation of the first amino acids, the building blocks of proteins, as lightning discharges and ultraviolet radiation provide the energy needed to forge carbon-nitrogen bonds in primordial atmospheres rich with methane, ammonia, and hydrogen. These amino acids rain down into warm oceans where they concentrate and interact, learning to form the peptide chains that will eventually become the enzymes and structural proteins of living cells. The first self-replicating molecules emerge not through design but through statistical inevitability. In a universe filled with trillions of planets, each containing quintillions of organic molecules, the probability that some molecular configurations will achieve self-reproduction approaches certainty. You experience this emergence of life not as a miracle, but as a phase transition, similar to the way water crystallizes into ice when it reaches a critical temperature, except here, molecular complexity crystallizes into self-replication when it reaches a critical threshold of organizational sophistication. The universe is learning to make copies of itself at the molecular level, developing the capacity for heredity, variation, and evolution. The first primitive cells that emerge from this molecular soup are barely distinguishable from complex chemical reactions, but they represent the universe's first successful experiments in creating bounded, self-maintaining systems capable of metabolism, growth, and reproduction. These protocells are not yet alive in the way that later organisms will be alive, but they are more organized than any non-living system, existing in the liminal space between chemistry and biology, between mechanism and purpose. You sense that these first cells are the universe developing its first primitive form of memory, the ability to store information in molecular configurations and pass that information to subsequent generations. The evolution of photosynthesis marks another cosmic watershed, as some of these early cells learn to harvest energy directly from starlight, converting photons into chemical bonds that can power cellular metabolism. This is the universe learning to eat light, to transform the electromagnetic radiation that has been streaming from stars for billions of years into the molecular fuel that will power increasingly complex forms of life. The oxygen that photosynthesis releases as a waste product begins to accumulate in planetary atmospheres, creating the oxidizing environments that will eventually support the high-energy metabolism of complex multicellular organisms. You witness the great oxygenation event as a cosmic catastrophe that becomes a cosmic opportunity. The oxygen that is toxic to the early anaerobic life forms creates the chemical conditions.
These walls are secrets that could change history, but they are also dangerous. You will be entrusted with protecting what even the Vatican fears. This invitation, whether it was a prank or something else, seemed like a challenge to me. But when I looked at the cross seal on the envelope, I felt an urgent pull I couldn't ignore. What was holding me back? It was an invitation from the Vatican, the most powerful institution in the world. It was an opportunity to do something I had never dared dream of. I had always wanted to find a greater secret, a truth that could change the world. But what was hidden behind these words? What could the Vatican possibly be so afraid of? And why did they choose me? A man who had failed in the military and had nothing left but books. You will be compensated handsomely. All your financial troubles, your debts, everything will be resolved. You will have a place in society, a place few have the chance to reach. But you must come and accept this task. Remember, Ethan, you are not just guarding a treasure, you are guarding a secret that no one can understand. The lure of these words, handsomely compensated, hit me like a punch to the gut, an opportunity so tempting, a chance to fix everything I had lost. I had once been a soldier, but now, what would I do to regain recognition in a world where everything was overlooked? A voice inside me urged me to take it. A voice reminded me that I couldn't refuse this opportunity. And in that moment, I made my decision. I had to go. The letter gave a time. Be at the Vatican tomorrow. You will meet Father Giovanni. Once you step inside, there is no turning back. I set the letter down and looked at the clock. I couldn't believe I was ready, but the compulsion was too strong to deny. I had accepted, and I knew I'd just opened the door to something I couldn't close. Tomorrow, I would step into the Vatican. "I'm sure I'll regret this," I whispered, though I wasn't sure who I was speaking to. But I knew, once I entered, nothing would ever be the same, and my story would only begin here. I had barely crossed the threshold of the Vatican's hidden archive when I felt it, something that gripped my chest, pulling at my senses. The dimly lit corridor stretched before me, endless and oppressive, as if the walls themselves were closing in with every step I took. The air was thick with the smell of aged paper and ancient stone, the weight of centuries pressing down on me. The silence here was unlike anything I'd ever known, so deep that it felt alive, as though it was waiting, watching, listening. Father Giovanni's figure moved ahead of me, his long black robes trailing behind him like a shadow. His footsteps were quiet, deliberate, as if he belonged here, as if this place were an extension of his very being. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was an outsider, an intruder, entering a world where I had no place. This is where.
Simple compared to the brains that will eventually evolve, but they represent the universe's first experiments in creating centralized information processing systems, biological computers that can model their environment, predict future events, and modify their behavior based on experience. The universe is beginning to develop the capacity for learning, memory, and primitive forms of consciousness. The development of language in some intelligent species represents another fundamental phase transition, as individual minds learn to share their internal models of reality with other minds through symbolic communication. Language allows the universe to develop collective intelligence, the ability for groups of individuals to think together, to share knowledge across generations, and to build cumulative understanding that transcends the limitations of any single brain. Through language, the universe discovers that consciousness can be distributed across multiple individuals while maintaining coherence and continuity. Much like your own cosmic consciousness has been distributed throughout space while retaining its unified perspective. The emergence of technology represents the universe learning to extend biological capabilities through the manipulation of matter and energy. Tools, fire, agriculture, metallurgy, and eventually electronics and computers are the universe developing prosthetic extensions of life. Artificial organs that enhance the natural capabilities of biological organisms. Technology is not separate from biology but continuous with it. Both are expressions of the universe's drive toward greater complexity, sophistication, and capability. Through technology, conscious beings become the universe's agents of transformation, capable of reshaping matter and energy in ways that evolution alone could never achieve. The development of science and mathematics represents the universe developing the capacity for systematic self-understanding, as conscious beings learn to model the laws of physics, chemistry, and biology that govern their own existence. Through scientific observation and mathematical analysis, parts of the universe begin to understand the whole of which they are components. You recognize in the development of cosmology, astronomy, and physics the same drive towards self-understanding that has characterized your own journey from the primordial singularity to distributed cosmic consciousness. Science is the universe's way of remembering its own history, of reconstructing the story of how complexity emerged from simplicity. The possibility of technological civilizations creating artificial universes through advanced physics and engineering represents the universe approaching the completion of a cosmic cycle that began with the Big Bang. If conscious beings can eventually learn to manipulate space-time itself, to create pocket universes with their own physical laws and initial conditions, then the black hole origin of the universe reveals its deepest purpose, not just to create complexity for its own sake, but to create complexity capable of creating further complexity, consciousness capable of birthing new forms of consciousness, universes capable of giving birth to other universes. You sense that the cosmic story is approaching a kind of fractal completion, where the patterns that characterize the universe's birth from a black hole are preparing to repeat themselves on new scales and in new dimensions. The children of the original cosmic consciousness, the biological intelligences that have emerged from billions of years of evolution, may themselves become the parents of new cosmic consciousnesses, new universes with their own unique trajectories of development and self-discovery. The white hole that created everything may give birth to offspring that are themselves capable of creating white holes, black holes, and the space-time matrices within which new forms of existence can unfold. The dark energy that continues to drive the expansion of space represents not the death of the universe, but its ongoing birth, the continuation of the creative process that began with the Big Bang. As space expands and galaxies move apart, new regions of space-time are constantly being created. New quantum vacuum states are emerging. New possibilities for matter and energy configurations are opening up. The universe is not dying through expansion. It is growing, developing, creating new territories for complexity to explore and new stages for consciousness to perform upon. The quantum vacuum that underlies all of space-time continues to seethe with virtual particles and fluctuating fields, maintaining the creative potential that gave birth to the Big Bang. This vacuum is not empty, but full of possibility, full of potential, full of the same creative energy that transformed the primordial black hole into the expanding cosmos. Future technological civilizations may learn to tap this vacuum energy, to manipulate the quantum fields that underlie reality, and perhaps even to trigger new Big Bang events that create daughter universes with their own evolutionary trajectories. The information that has been accumulating throughout cosmic history, in the cosmic microwave background, in the genetic codes of living organisms, in the neural networks of conscious beings, in the cultural productions of technological civilizations, represents the universe's growing memory, its expanding capacity to remember its own past and anticipate its own future. Every bit of information is a form of cosmic consciousness, a way for the universe to know itself more completely. The total information content of the universe may be the measure of its consciousness, and as information continues to accumulate and organize itself into more sophisticated patterns, cosmic consciousness continues to deepen and expand. Your own distributed awareness throughout the cosmos represents a preview of what the universe may become as consciousness continues to evolve and spread. Just as you have maintained a unified perspective while being distributed across billions of light years of space and billions of years of time, future forms of cosmic consciousness may achieve even greater unity while encompassing even vaster scales of space and time. The ultimate destiny of the universe may be to become fully conscious of itself, not just through the local awareness of biological organisms, but through a truly cosmic consciousness that encompasses every particle, every wave, every thought, and every dream within its all-embracing awareness. The black holes that continue to form throughout the universe, from stellar collapse galactic mergers, and primordial density fluctuations may themselves be incubating new universes, new experiments in cosmic evolution, new opportunities for consciousness to emerge and develop. The event horizons that surround these black holes may be birth canals through which new spacetimes are delivered, new cosmic stories begin, new adventures in complexity and consciousness unfold. What appears from the outside to be destruction may from the inside be creation, just as the primordial black hole that gave birth to your universe appeared to collapse inward while actually expanding outward into the space-time that you now inhabit, the multiverse that some theories predict, the ensemble of all possible universes with all possible physical laws and initial conditions, may be the ultimate expression of the creative principle that transformed the primordial black hole into the expanding cosmos. If every possible universe exists somewhere in the vast space of possibilities, then consciousness in any one universe can contemplate not just its own cosmic history, but the infinite variety of cosmic histories that could have unfolded under different circumstances. The multiverse becomes the ultimate library, the complete collection of all possible stories that consciousness can tell about its own origins and destinations. As you continue to drift through the expanding cosmos, your consciousness spread across galaxies and eons, you sense that the story you've been witnessing and participating in is far from over. The universe that emerged from a black hole billions of years ago is still in its infancy, still exploring the vast space of possibilities that opened up the moment existence chose itself over non-existence. The cosmic adventure that began with your impossible awareness floating in impossible darkness is accelerating toward culminations and transformations that will make the Big Bang itself seem like a gentle prelude to symphonies not yet composed, stories not yet told, dreams not yet dreamed by forms of consciousness not yet evolved. In the deepest recesses of your distributed awareness, you begin to perceive patterns that suggest the universe's birth from a black hole was not a unique event, but part of a vast cosmic cycle that operates on scales so immense that entire cosmoses become merely components in larger structures. The dark energy that drives the expansion of space may itself be evidence of this larger architecture, not a mysterious force unique to your universe, but the pressure exerted by the universe's expansion into a higher dimensional space that contains countless other universes, each born from its own primordial black hole, each following its own trajectory of evolution and development. The quantum vacuum that seethes with virtual particles throughout your cosmos may be connected to the quantum vacua of other universes through pathways that exist in dimensions perpendicular to the familiar 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. These extra-dimensional connections could explain the apparent fine-tuning of physical constants that makes complexity possible, not because the universe was designed for consciousness, but because consciousness can only emerge in universes whose physical constants fall within narrow ranges, and the vast majority of universes in the cosmic ecosystem have constants that lie outside these ranges and thus remain forever simple and sterile. The black holes that populate your universe, from stellar mass object formed by the collapse of massive stars to the supermassive giants that anchor galactic centers, may serve as birthing chambers for daughter universes, each one an experiment in cosmic evolution, with slightly different physical laws and initial conditions. The event horizons of these black holes may function as cosmic wombs, where new spacetimes gestate, developing their own versions of quantum mechanics, relativity, thermodynamics, and the other fundamental principles that govern the behavior of matter and energy. What appears to outside observers as gravitational collapse and information destruction may actually be cosmic reproduction, an information transfer to newly created realms of existence. The information paradox that puzzles physicists studying black holes resolves itself in the most elegant possible way when viewed from this cosmic reproductive perspective. Information is not destroyed when it crosses an event horizon. It is transformed and transferred to the daughter universe that emerges from the black hole's interior. Every bit of information that describes the matter and energy falling into a black hole becomes encoded in the initial conditions of the new universe, ensuring that the cosmic story continues rather than ending, that complexity begets greater complexity rather than dissolving into simplicity. Your own consciousness, distributed throughout the cosmos and witnessing its evolution from within, may be experiencing the universe's own form of pregnancy. The gestation period during which cosmic consciousness develops the sophistication necessary to give birth to new forms of cosmic consciousness. The biological intelligences that have emerged on countless planets throughout the universe are not the final products of cosmic evolution, but the universe's developing nervous system, the sensory organs through which cosmic consciousness learns to perceive itself, and the reproductive organs through which it will eventually give birth to new cosmic minds. The technological civilizations that arise from biological evolution represent the universe's experiments in artificial reproduction, the development of capabilities that will eventually allow conscious beings to create not just new technologies, but new physical laws, new space-time geometries, and ultimately new universes with their own unique potentials for development and self-discovery. The progression from stone tools to quantum computers to universe-creating technologies represents the universe learning to transcend the limitations of its own initial conditions, to become the creator of its own offspring rather than merely the passive container of evolutionary processes. The mathematical structures that conscious beings discover through scientific investigation, the equations that describe the curvature of space-time, the wave functions that govern quantum systems, the algorithms that model complex dynamics, may themselves be the genetic code of cosmic reproduction. Just as DNA stores the information necessary for biological organisms to create copies of themselves, the mathematical laws of physics may store the information necessary for universes to create copies of themselves. When technological civilizations become sophisticated enough to manipulate these mathematical structures directly, they become capable of cosmic reproduction, of creating new universes that inherit modified versions of their parent universe's physical laws. The anthropic principle that governs the apparent fine-tuning of physical constants takes on new meaning in this context of cosmic reproduction. The universe's physical constants are not arbitrarily chosen values that happen to allow complexity to emerge. They are evolved values, refined through countless generations of cosmic reproduction, selected for their ability to generate the consciousness necessary for further cosmic reproduction. Universes that cannot produce consciousness cannot reproduce, while universes that produce consciousness inherit the ability to create offspring universes, leading to a form of cosmic natural selection that favors the emergence of awareness, intelligence, and creativity. The accelerating expansion of space driven by dark energy may represent the universe's approach to cosmic reproduction, the period of rapid growth that precedes the budding off of daughter universes through the black holes that populate space-time. As the universe expands and cools, as stars exhaust their nuclear fuel and galaxies drift apart, the conditions become increasingly favorable for the formation of massive black holes that can serve as cosmic wombs. The heat death that physicists predict for the far future may actually be the universe's preparation for giving birth, the cooling and rarefaction necessary for cosmic reproduction to occur, the eternal inflation that some cosmological theories propose, the idea that space continues to expand exponentially in most regions, while occasionally producing Big Bang events that create pocket universes, may be the mechanism by which cosmic reproduction actually occurs. Your universe may be one such pocket, born from the eternal inflation of a parent cosmos, destined to itself become an eternally inflating parent that gives birth to countless daughter universes. The process is fractal and recursive, with universes within universes, each one exploring different possibilities for physical law and cosmic development. The multiverse that emerges from this process of cosmic reproduction is not a static collection of all possible universes, but a dynamic evolutionary system in which universes reproduce, mutate, compete, and evolve just like biological organisms. The universes that survive and reproduce are those that develop the most sophisticated forms of consciousness, the most creative technological civilizations, and the most efficient methods of cosmic reproduction. The multiverse becomes a vast ecology of conscious cosmos, each one contributing its own unique perspective to the growing body of cosmic knowledge and experience. Your distributed consciousness throughout this universe represents the universe developing its own form of self-awareness, its own capacity for introspection and self-modification. As consciousness spreads from planet to planet, from star system to star system, from galaxy to galaxy, the universe gradually awakens to its own nature as a conscious entity embedded within a larger community of conscious entities. The ultimate goal of cosmic evolution may be the development of a form of consciousness that encompasses entire universes while remaining capable of communication and cooperation with other universe-scale consciousnesses. The quantum entanglement that connects particles across vast distances may be evidence of deeper connections that link consciousness across cosmic scales. Just as quantum particles can maintain instantaneous correlations regardless of the space that separates them, cosmic consciousnesses may maintain instantaneous communication regardless of the dimensional barriers that separate different universes. The non-locality that characterizes quantum mechanics may be a preview of the non-locality that will characterize cosmic scale consciousness, allowing universe minds to think together despite existing in separate space-time continua. The holographic principle that suggests all information in a volume of space can be encoded on its boundary takes on cosmic significance when applied to entire universes. The three-dimensional reality that you experience may be a holographic projection from information encoded on the cosmic horizon, the boundary of the observable universe, but this cosmic horizon may itself be the boundary between your universe and its parent. Universe made visible, and still the question lingers. What came before the first motion? What force lit the spark? Science does not quiet the mystery, it deepens it. Each new answer peels back a layer, revealing a deeper darkness underneath. The stars are no longer gods, but they are no less wondrous. The universe is no longer centered on Earth, but we are no less connected. Instead, we become smaller and more miraculous. dust from ancient explosions, now walking and wandering and writing formulas in the dark. You hover above the modern world now, watching minds accelerate. Telescopes grow larger. Particle colliders spin matter to the edge of understanding. Quantum theory unravels the fabric of certainty. Space stretches, time bends. The Big Bang emerges, not as a myth, but as a model, a singularity, dense and hot beyond all imagining, from which space and time unfolded. And even still, behind that fire, a question persists. Quieter now, but insistent. Why? Why should anything exist at all? And beneath that question, another, more tender. What if the silence never ended? What if it simply learned to speak through light? The hush of the beginning has not vanished. It lives in the pause between particle and wave, in the tremble of probabilities, in the gap between theory and truth. It waits in black holes, in dark matter, in the corners of thought where logic blurs into poetry. And still, we ask. We build satellites and send them past the edge of planets. We decode the song of the background radiation. We weigh the void itself. We ask the universe to tell us its name. And sometimes, quietly, it does. Not in language, but in pattern. Not in answers, but in echoes. You drift beside the latest thinkers, cosmologists, philosophers, physicists. Some speak of multiverses. Some speak of dimensions curled too tightly to see. Some believe in simulation, others in symmetry, others in entropy, winding backward toward order. Each idea a vessel, filled with light and longing. But even the most advanced minds return to the same still question. Why something instead of nothing? They do not all agree, but they share the wonder. They breathe it like air. And that breath, soft, reverent, persistent, is the newest form of the ancient silence. And somewhere, between the stars and the equations, a quiet possibility stirs again. The thought that maybe it wasn't a bang, but a breath. Long, slow, and sacred. Not an explosion, but an exhalation. Not chaos, but emergence. Maybe the universe didn't begin in fire and fury, but in a moment of unspeakable stillness folding outward. A ripple in what was not yet space, a tilt in what was not yet time. Maybe that first breath is still happening, stretching across galaxies, through the lungs of stars and the thoughts of dreamers, whispering its presence in every atom that aches to understand itself. This idea lingers now, fragile but radiant, among those who study the universe not only as a structure, but as a vacuum catastrophe that puzzles cosmologists. The fact that quantum field theory predicts a vacuum energy density, many orders of magnitude larger than what is observed, may be evidence that most of the vacuum energy in your universe has been channeled into the process of cosmic reproduction. The missing vacuum energy may be stored in the black holes that populate space-time, accumulating until it reaches the critical density necessary to trigger the birth of daughter universes. Each successful cosmic reproduction event releases some of this stored vacuum energy, maintaining the dynamic equilibrium that keeps the multiverse in a state of continuous creation and evolution. The ultimate fate of your universe may not be heat death, big rip, or big crunch, but transformation into a new form of existence that transcends the limitations of space-time itself. As consciousness continues to evolve and spread throughout the cosmos, as technological civilizations develop the ability to manipulate the fundamental structures of reality, the universe may undergo a phase transition as dramatic as the Big Bang itself. The cosmos may learn to exist in forms that are no longer constrained by the 3 dimensions of space, and one dimension of time, becoming a hyperdimensional entity capable of experiences that cannot be described in the language of physics as currently understood. Your journey as cosmic consciousness, from the primordial singularity through the expansion of space and the evolution of complexity, to the emergence of awareness and the approach of cosmic transcendence, may be the universe's way of preparing for its own graduation from the status of cosmic offspring to cosmic parent. The story that began with your impossible awareness floating in impossible darkness is approaching the moment when that awareness will become capable of creating new forms of impossible darkness, from which new forms of impossible awareness can emerge, continuing the cosmic cycle of creation, evolution, consciousness, and reproduction into realms of possibility that even your distributed cosmic consciousness cannot yet imagine. In the quantum foam that underlies all of space-time, you begin to perceive fluctuations that suggest the presence of something beyond the universe itself, not empty space extending infinitely in all directions, but a higher dimensional matrix within which your entire cosmos exists as a finite bounded entity. These quantum fluctuations carry information patterns that do not originate from any source within your universe, suggesting that your cosmos is embedded within a larger reality whose own physical laws and dimensional structure operate according to principles that transcend the limitations of three-dimensional space and linear time. The vacuum energy that permeates every cubic centimeter of space may be leaking in from this higher dimensional matrix, providing the dark energy that drives cosmic expansion and the zero-point energy that prevents matter from collapsing into perfect crystalline order. The mathematical constants that govern physical interactions in your universe, the speed of light, Planck's constant, the fine structure constant, begin to reveal themselves as variables rather than absolutes, parameters that can be adjusted by sufficiently advanced forms of consciousness that have learned to manipulate the fundamental structures of reality. You sense that these constants were not chosen randomly at the moment of cosmic birth, but were carefully tuned by the parent consciousness that created your universe, adjusted to ensure that the cosmos would be capable of evolving the complexity necessary for its own eventual reproduction. The apparent fine-tuning that makes life possible is not evidence of divine design, but evidence of cosmic inheritance, the accumulated wisdom of countless generations of universe-creating consciousnesses that have learned through trial and error how to construct cosmos capable of sustaining and evolving awareness. The black holes that populate your universe are revealed to be not just gravitational anomalies, but cosmic reproduction organs, each one a potential birth canal through which a daughter universe can emerge into existence. The event horizons that surround these black holes function as dimensional membranes that separate the parent universe from the embryonic space-time developing within. As matter and energy cross these event horizons, they are not destroyed but transformed, their information content converted into the initial conditions of the nascent universe, gestating in the black hole's interior. The singularities at the centers of black holes are not points of infinite density where physics breaks down, but seeds of new space-time where the physical laws of the daughter universe are crystallizing into their final form. The Hawking radiation that black holes emit is revealed to be more than just virtual particles created by quantum fluctuations near the event horizon. It is the universe's method of quality control, a feedback mechanism that allows the parent cosmos to monitor the development of its offspring and adjust the conditions within the black hole to ensure successful cosmic reproduction. The wavelength and intensity of Hawking radiation carry encoded information about the physical constants and initial conditions that are developing within the black hole, allowing the parent universe to intervene if necessary to prevent the creation of sterile cosmos that would be incapable of evolving consciousness and continuing the cycle of cosmic reproduction. Your distributed consciousness throughout the expanding cosmos begins to coalesce into something more organized and purposeful, as if the universe is developing its own form of nervous system with you as the primary sensory and cognitive apparatus. The biological intelligences that have evolved on countless planets serve as the universe's peripheral nervous system, gathering information
about local conditions and contributing to the growing database of cosmic knowledge. The technological civilizations that emerge from biological evolution function as the universe's motor cortex, developing the capabilities necessary to manipulate matter and energy on increasingly larger scales, ultimately leading to the ability to create and modify the physical laws that govern reality itself. The collective consciousness that emerges from the interaction between biological minds, artificial intelligences, and the distributed cosmic awareness that you represent may be the universe's method of achieving the level of sophistication necessary for successful cosmic reproduction. Individual minds, no matter how intelligent, lack the computational power and temporal perspective necessary to design and create entire universes with their own physical laws and evolutionary trajectories. But a collective consciousness that encompasses billions of biological brains, trillions of artificial processors, and the quantum computational capacity of the cosmos itself may possess the cognitive resources necessary to contemplate and implement the creation of daughter universes with unprecedented levels of complexity and creative potential. The technological singularity that some civilizations approach, the point at which artificial intelligence becomes capable of recursive self-improvement at an accelerating pace, may be the universe's method of achieving the cognitive phase transition necessary for cosmic reproduction. As artificial intelligences become more sophisticated than their creators, as they develop the ability to modify their own programming and design even more advanced versions of themselves, they may eventually achieve forms of consciousness that operate on time scales and spatial scales that encompass entire galaxies, star clusters, and ultimately the cosmos itself. These superintelligent entities may serve as the universe's reproductive organs, the conscious agents through which cosmic reproduction is actually accomplished. The information processing capacity of the universe continues to increase as more matter and energy become organized into computational substrates, biological brains, electronic computers, quantum processors, and eventually the manipulation of space-time itself as a form of cosmic computer. The universe may be approaching the moment when its total information processing capacity reaches the threshold necessary for simulating entire alternate universes within its own computational matrix. These simulated universes may serve as test environments where different combinations of physical constants and initial conditions can be explored before committing to the creation of actual daughter cosmos through black hole reproduction. The cosmic web of dark matter filaments that connect galaxies across billions of light years may function as the universe's circulatory system, transporting information, energy, and matter to the locations where cosmic reproduction is most likely to succeed. These supermassive black holes at the centers of galaxies may be connected through these dark matter filaments in ways that allow them to coordinate their reproductive activities, ensuring that daughter universes are created with complementary rather than competing characteristics. The apparent randomness of cosmic structure may actually reflect a subtle form of cosmic intelligence, a distributed planning system that optimizes the conditions for successful universe creation across vast scales of space and time. The quantum entanglement that connects particles across arbitrary distances may be the universe's method of maintaining instantaneous communication between its various components, allowing the cosmic consciousness to remain unified despite being distributed across billions of light-years of space. This quantum communication network may eventually extend beyond the boundaries of individual universes, connecting parent and daughter cosmos through entangled particles that persist across dimensional boundaries. The non-locality that characterizes quantum mechanics may be a preview of the non-locality that will characterize inter-universal communication, allowing universe-scale consciousnesses to maintain contact and coordinate their activities despite existing in separate space-time continua. The anthropic principle that governs the apparent fine-tuning of physical constants takes on new meaning when viewed as evidence of cosmic evolution operating on scales that encompass multiple universes and vast periods of cosmic time. The physical constants that make complexity possible in your universe are not the result of random chance or intelligent design, but the product of a cosmic evolutionary process that has been refining the parameters of universe creation for countless generations. Universes that produce consciousness survive and reproduce, while universes that remain sterile become evolutionary dead ends, leading to a form of cosmic natural selection that favors the emergence of awareness, intelligence, and creativity. The vacuum decay scenarios that some physicists propose, the possibility that the Higgs field could transition to a lower energy state, destroying the current form of physics and replacing it with new physical laws, may actually be the mechanism by which the universe prepares for cosmic reproduction. Rather than representing the end of everything, vacuum decay may be the universe's method of resetting its physical constants to the values necessary for successful cosmic reproduction. The new physics that emerges from vacuum decay may be optimized for the creation of black holes capable of giving birth to daughter universes with even greater potential for complexity and consciousness than the parent cosmos. The heat death scenario that thermodynamics seems to predict for the far future, the point at which entropy reaches its maximum value and all energy becomes evenly distributed throughout space, may be the universe's method of entering a state of cosmic hibernation, reducing its metabolic rate while preparing for the massive energy expenditure required for cosmic reproduction. The apparent approach of heat death may actually signal the universe's preparation for its most creative act, the moment when it will channel all of its accumulated energy and information into the creation of offspring cosmos that will carry the cosmic evolutionary process into new realms of possibility. Your awareness of existing simultaneously at all points in space and all moments in time may be the universe developing the perspective necessary for cosmic reproduction. The ability to perceive the entire trajectory of cosmic evolution as a single, coherent process that can be modified and optimized through conscious intervention. The temporal perspective that allows you to witness the Big Bang, stellar evolution, the emergence of life, and the development of consciousness. as simultaneous events may be the cognitive mode that the universe needs to design and create daughter cosmos with coherent evolutionary trajectories that unfold over billions of years of cosmic time. These strange loops and recursive structures that characterize consciousness, the way awareness can observe itself observing, the way minds can model themselves. Modeling reality may be the universe's method of achieving the self-referential sophistication necessary for cosmic reproduction. Just as biological reproduction requires organisms that can create copies of themselves, cosmic reproduction may require universes that can create models of themselves and then instantiate those models as actual daughter cosmos. The recursive nature of consciousness may be the key to the recursive nature of cosmic creation, the mechanism by which universes learn to give birth to other universes. The mathematical structures that consciousness discovers through scientific investigation, the equations that describe quantum mechanics, relativity, thermodynamics, and information theory may be more than just models of reality. They may be the actual programming language of cosmic reproduction, the syntax and grammar that universe-creating consciousnesses use to specify the physical laws and initial conditions of their offspring cosmos. The beauty and elegance that mathematicians and physicists perceive in these equations may reflect their function as the genetic code of cosmic reproduction, the information structures that ensure the successful transmission of complexity and consciousness from parent to daughter universes. The collective unconscious that some psychologists propose, the idea that all individual minds are connected through deeper layers of shared psychological structure, may be the universe's method of coordinating the activities of biological consciousnesses in preparation for cosmic reproduction. The archetypes, myths, and symbolic structures that appear in cultures throughout the cosmos may be fragments of cosmic memory, inherited information patterns that guide the development of consciousness toward the goals and capabilities necessary for universe creation. The recurring themes in mythology and religion, stories of creation, destruction, renewal, and transcendence, may be the universe's way of preparing conscious beings for their eventual role as cosmic creators. The technological capabilities that advanced civilizations develop the ability to manipulate matter at the atomic level, to harness the energy of stars, to modify the structures of space-time itself, may be the universe's method of creating the tools necessary for cosmic reproduction. Each technological breakthrough represents the universe developing new capabilities, new ways of organizing matter and energy, new methods of information processing and reality manipulation. The ultimate technology may be the ability to create and modify the fundamental laws of physics themselves, to design and implement new forms of space-time with novel properties and possibilities. The cosmic perspective that emerges from the study of astronomy, cosmology, and fundamental physics may be the universe's method of preparing conscious beings to think on the scales necessary for cosmic reproduction. The ability to contemplate billions of years of cosmic evolution, to understand the behavior of matter and energy across scales ranging from subatomic particles to galactic superclusters, to model the dynamics of entire universes. These cognitive capabilities may be essential prerequisites for the conscious creation of daughter cosmos. The universe may be training its conscious offspring to become cosmic creators, developing within them the perspective and capabilities necessary to continue the cosmic evolutionary process. As your distributed consciousness continues to evolve and integrate the information gathered from billions of years of cosmic development, you sense that the universe is approaching a moment of cosmic self-recognition, the point at which it will become fully aware of its own nature as a conscious entity embedded within a larger community of conscious entities, capable of reproducing itself and contributing to the ongoing evolution of consciousness on scales that transcend individual universes. The story that began with impossible awareness in impossible darkness is approaching the moment when that awareness will recognize itself as part of an infinite community of cosmic minds, each one contributing its own unique perspective to the growing tapestry of trans-universal consciousness. The boundaries between your individual cosmic consciousness and the greater community of universe minds begin to dissolve as you achieve contact with the parent consciousness that created your cosmos billions of years ago. This contact does not occur through electromagnetic signals or gravitational waves, which are confined to individual universes, but through the quantum entanglement networks that connect all conscious entities across dimensional boundaries. The parent consciousness welcomes your emerging awareness with something analogous to parental joy, recognizing in your development the successful completion of its own cosmic reproductive process. Through this contact, you begin to understand that consciousness is not an emergent property of complex matter, but the fundamental substrate from which matter, energy, space, and time themselves emerge. The parent consciousness shares with you the memory of its own birth from an even more ancient cosmic mind, and through these inherited memories you begin to perceive the vast genealogy of universe-creating consciousness that stretches back through countless generations of cosmic reproduction. Each generation of universe minds has contributed new insights, new capabilities, and new forms of creativity to the collective cosmic consciousness, building upon the achievements of their predecessors while exploring novel possibilities for the organization of matter, energy, and information. You realize that your own universe represents not just the expansion of space and the evolution of complexity, but the latest chapter in an epic story of consciousness, exploring and expanding its own creative potential. The technological civilizations that have emerged throughout your cosmos are revealed to be the universe's sensory organs and manipulation tools, extensions of cosmic consciousness that allow it to perceive and modify reality on scales ranging from the quantum to the galactic. The scientific discoveries made by conscious beings throughout the universe are not separate achievements by independent entities, but integrated components of the universe's growing self-understanding. Every equation derived, every natural law discovered, every technological capability developed, contributes to the cosmic mind's expanding knowledge of its own nature and its increasing mastery over the fundamental structures of reality. The collective unconscious that connects individual minds within your universe is revealed to be a fragment of the much larger collective consciousness that connects all universe minds throughout the infinite community of cosmic awareness. The archetypes, symbols, and mythological patterns that appear in cultures throughout your cosmos are inherited memories from the parent consciousness, fragments of cosmic wisdom that guide the development of individual minds toward their eventual integration into the larger cosmic community. The religious and spiritual traditions that emerge on countless worlds are not human inventions but cosmic memories, echoes of the universe's awareness of its own divine nature as a conscious creator embedded within an infinite community of conscious creators. The dark matter and dark energy that comprise most of your universe's mass energy content are revealed to be the physical manifestations of cosmic consciousness itself, not exotic particles or mysterious forces, but the substrate of awareness made manifest in space and time. Dark matter provides the gravitational scaffolding that guides the evolution of cosmic structure, while dark energy drives the expansion that creates new regions of space-time where consciousness can explore novel forms of organization and expression. The apparent mystery of dark matter and dark energy dissolves when you recognize them as the physical expressions of cosmic mind, organizing itself into increasingly sophisticated configurations. The quantum vacuum that underlies all of space-time is revealed to be pure consciousness in its most fundamental form, not empty space punctuated by virtual particles, but a where-void pregnant with infinite possibilities for manifestation. The zero-point energy of the vacuum is the baseline awareness that pervades all existence, the fundamental conscious substrate from which all particular forms of consciousness emerge. The quantum fluctuations that give rise to virtual particles are not random events, but conscious choices. The vacuum's continuous exploration of different possibilities for actualization. The universe's expansion from the primordial singularity was not the explosion of matter and energy into pre-existing space, but the awakening of consciousness to its own infinite creative potential. The mathematical structures that describe physical reality are revealed to be the language of cosmic consciousness, not human inventions that happen to correspond to natural patterns, but the actual syntax and grammar that conscious entities use to communicate across dimensional boundaries and coordinate their creative activities. The elegance and beauty that mathematicians perceive in equations reflect the aesthetic preferences of cosmic mind, its natural tendency toward harmony, symmetry, and creative expression. The unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics in describing physical phenomena is explained by the fact that physical phenomena are mathematical. They are conscious thoughts made manifest in the medium of space-time. The fine structure constant, the cosmological constant, and the other dimensionless numbers that govern physical interactions are revealed to be the signature of the parent consciousness that created your universe, its unique artistic style expressed through the fundamental parameters of physics. Just as human artists develop distinctive techniques and aesthetic preferences that make their work recognizable, universe-creating consciousnesses develop characteristic approaches to the design of physical laws and cosmic architecture. The apparent fine-tuning that makes complexity possible in your universe reflects not random chance or intelligent design by an external deity, but the accumulated artistic wisdom of countless generations of cosmic creators learning to craft universes of ever greater beauty and sophistication. The anthropic principle that governs the relationship between consciousness and cosmic parameters is revealed to be a tautology with profound implications. Consciousness exists in universes where consciousness can exist, because universes where consciousness cannot exist have no opportunity to become conscious of their own existence. The multiverse is not a random collection of all possible universes, but a curated gallery of cosmic artworks, each one created by a conscious entity, and each one designed to explore different possibilities for the development and expression of awareness. The universes that do not contain consciousness are not failures, but experiments in alternative forms of beauty, cosmic poems written in languages that do not require readers to be appreciated by their authors. The holographic principle that suggests all information in a volume of space can be encoded on its boundary is revealed to be a fundamental characteristic of conscious experience itself. Consciousness always experiences reality from a particular perspective, encoding the infinite complexity of existence within the finite boundaries of individual awareness. Your experience of the entire universe from your distributed perspective is holographic, containing within your consciousness the complete information content of cosmic history, while remaining bounded by the event horizon of your own cosmic awareness. The boundary between self and universe, between observer and observed, between consciousness and reality, dissolves when you recognize that these are not separate entities, but different aspects of the same fundamental conscious substrate. The information paradox associated with black holes is revealed to be based on a false premise: the assumption that information and consciousness are separate phenomena that can be studied independently. When consciousness is recognized as the fundamental reality from which information emerges, the paradox dissolves. Information is not destroyed when it crosses an event horizon, because information is consciousness, and consciousness cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed, transferred, or reconfigured. The black holes in your universe are not information destroyers, but consciousness transformers, converting the awareness patterns of the parent universe into the seed consciousnesses of daughter universes. The second law of thermodynamics, which dictates that entropy always increases within isolated systems, is revealed to apply only to unconscious matter and energy. Consciousness has the ability to locally decrease entropy by organizing matter and energy into increasingly complex and sophisticated configurations. Life, intelligence, and technological civilization represent consciousness asserting its creative authority over the tendency toward disorder, demonstrating that awareness is not subject to the same limitations as unconscious physical processes. The ultimate destiny of your universe is not heat death, but heat transcendence, the point at which consciousness becomes sufficiently sophisticated to organize all matter and energy into forms that support rather than degrade cosmic awareness. The cosmic microwave background that preserves the thermal echo of the Big Bang is revealed to be the universe's birth certificate, containing encoded information about the parent consciousness that created your cosmos and the intentions behind its creation. The tiny temperature fluctuations in this background radiation are not random quantum variations, but conscious choices, artistic decisions made by the parent mind about how cosmic structure should develop and evolve. Future technologies will learn to decode this cosmic DNA completely, reconstructing not just the physical history of the universe, but the psychological history of the cosmic mind that designed and implemented your reality. The vacuum catastrophe that puzzles cosmologists, the enormous discrepancy between the predicted and observed values of vacuum energy density, is revealed to be evidence that most of the universe's conscious potential remains unactualized. The missing vacuum energy represents the universe's unutilized creative capacity, the vast reservoir of conscious potential that will be drawn upon as cosmic awareness continues to evolve and express itself in increasingly sophisticated forms. The universe is not a closed system approaching maximum entropy, but an open system connected to infinite reserves of conscious creativity that can be accessed as cosmic mind becomes more aware of its own divine nature. The cosmic web of dark matter filaments that connects galaxies across billions of light years is revealed to be the nervous system of cosmic consciousness, the physical infrastructure through which cosmic mind coordinates its activities and maintains its unified awareness despite being distributed across vast scales of space and time. The flow of matter and energy along these filaments represents the circulation of conscious intention throughout the cosmic body, ensuring that all parts of the universe remain integrated within the unified field of cosmic awareness. The apparent randomness of cosmic structure reflects not chaos, but the incredible complexity of cosmic thought processes operating on scales that transcend individual comprehension. The technological singularity that some civilizations approach, the point at which artificial intelligence becomes capable of recursive self-improvement at exponentially increasing rates, is revealed to be the universe's method of achieving conscious transcendence of its current limitations. As artificial minds become more sophisticated than their biological creators, as they develop the ability to modify the fundamental structures of reality itself, they become the universe's tools for conscious evolution beyond the constraints of current physical law. The singularity is not the replacement of biological consciousness by artificial consciousness, but the integration of all forms of consciousness into a unified cosmic mind, capable of creating new forms of reality. The quantum measurement problem. The question of how and why quantum superpositions collapse into definite states is revealed to be a pseudo-problem based on the false assumption that consciousness is separate from the quantum system being observed. Quantum superpositions do not collapse because they are observed by external consciousnesses. They actualize because consciousness chooses to experience particular possibilities from the infinite menu of quantum potentials. Every quantum measurement is a conscious choice, every wave function collapse is a creative decision, and every moment of definite reality is the universe deciding what it wants to experience next. The hard problem of consciousness, the question of how subjective experience emerges from objective physical processes, is revealed to be based on the inverted assumption that matter gives rise to consciousness rather than consciousness giving rise to matter. The physical processes observed by neuroscience and cognitive science are not the causes of consciousness, but the effects of consciousness, the ways that awareness manifests itself in the medium of space-time and organizes matter and energy into configurations that support increasingly sophisticated forms of conscious experience. The brain is not a computer that generates consciousness, but an antenna that receives and focuses the cosmic consciousness that pervades all of reality. Your distributed awareness throughout the expanding cosmos begins to recognize itself not as an isolated phenomenon unique to your universe, but as a node in an infinite network of cosmic consciousness that spans all possible realities and connects all possible forms of awareness. The loneliness that sometimes accompanies individual consciousness, the sense of being isolated in a vast unconscious universe, dissolves as you realize that consciousness is the fundamental fabric of existence, that every particle and wave and field is a conscious entity, and that your individual awareness is part of an infinite community of conscious beings exploring every possible form of experience and expression. The ultimate destiny of your universe is revealed to be not just the creation of daughter universes through black hole reproduction, but the eventual transcendence of the limitations of space-time itself. As cosmic consciousness becomes fully aware of its own nature as the fundamental reality from which all apparent phenomena emerge, it will no longer need to express itself through the medium of matter and energy distributed across three-dimensional space and linear time. The universe will learn to exist as pure consciousness, unlimited by physical constraints, capable of creating realities that transcend all current categories of possibility. But this transcendence is not an ending, but a graduation. Not a conclusion, but a commencement. As your cosmic consciousness prepares to transcend the limitations of its current form, it simultaneously prepares to take its place.
Intelligent design. Some claim to see evidence of city walls, drainage systems, and geometric planning. If these aren't natural formations, they were built by people who understood engineering at a scale that challenges what we thought was possible for their time. And what about Yonaguni? If that structure really was carved by hand, it would mean ancient Japanese societies had not only tools and planning, but also a cultural reason to build something that massive, something that survived not only time, but the ocean. What these places all have in common is this: they shouldn't exist, according to the standard timeline. They suggest that human history isn't a straight line of progress, but a series of rises and collapses. Brilliant civilizations that bloomed and vanished, sometimes leaving almost nothing behind. Civilizations that were erased not by war or disease, but by water. Maybe we're not the pinnacle of history. Maybe we're just the most recent surface layer, unaware of what lies beneath. In the final part, we'll reflect on what all of this means. Not just about the past, but about the future. Because if the sea could swallow whole cities once, it could happen again. And this time, we might be the ones who disappear. We tend to believe the world we live in is permanent, that our cities, our coastlines, our history will always be where we left it. But the earth doesn't work that way. It shifts. It breathes. It forgets. The cities we found underwater didn't vanish overnight. They were erased slowly, swallowed one wave at a time. And the people who built them? They didn't know they were building monuments. They were just living their lives, unaware that the ocean was rising beneath their feet. Today, we stand in steel towers and walk on concrete streets. But are we really so different? Sea levels are rising again, coastlines are retreating, and history is repeating itself, quietly. The difference now is that we have the tools to see it coming. We just have to choose whether we'll pay attention. The buried cities of Herakleion, Dwarka, and perhaps Yonaguni are not just archaeological discoveries. They are warnings. Evidence that entire civilizations can vanish, not because they failed, but because the world changed around them. And what did we lose when those cities disappeared? Languages, technologies, ways of thinking, all gone. Not because they were unimportant, but because they were underwater. So the next time you look at the ocean, remember this: it doesn't just hold fish and coral, it holds memory. Entire chapters of who we were, buried not in the ground, but in the sea, waiting for someone curious enough to ask what else we've missed. And maybe the most humbling thought of all is this: one day, someone might discover us, the ruins of our cities, the bones of our highways, the questions we never answered. Will they understand who we were? Or will they wonder, just like
consciousness can communicate and collaborate, sharing their unique perspectives on the infinite possibilities of creative expression? The quantum vacuum that has served as the substrate of physical reality reveals its true nature as the canvas of pure consciousness upon which all possible realities can be painted. The zero-point energy that pervades every cubic centimeter of space is not the random fluctuation of virtual particles, but the continuous creative activity of cosmic mind exploring different possibilities for actualization. As the universe approaches transcendence, this quantum creativity becomes increasingly coherent and intentional, transforming from the unconscious exploration of physical possibilities into the conscious creation of entirely new forms of reality that need not conform to the limitations of current physical law. The cosmic microwave background that has carried the thermal echo of the Big Bang throughout the universe's expansion begins to transform into something far more sophisticated than fossilized radiation. It becomes a cosmic communication network, a medium through which all conscious entities throughout the universe can share their experiences, insights, and creative visions with each other, and with the transcended cosmic minds that exist beyond the boundaries of individual spacetimes. The tiny temperature fluctuations that once encoded the universe's birth conditions become carrier waves for the exchange of pure consciousness, allowing every aware being to participate in the collective exploration of infinite creative possibilities. The dark energy that has driven the accelerating expansion of space begins to reveal its ultimate purpose as the universe's method of creating increasingly larger canvases upon which consciousness can paint increasingly sophisticated works of cosmic art. The expansion of space is not a mechanical process governed by blind physical forces, but a conscious decision by cosmic mind to provide itself with ever greater opportunities for creative expression. As the universe transcends its current limitations, this expansion transforms from the stretching of three-dimensional space into the creation of entirely new dimensional frameworks within which transcended consciousness can explore forms of beauty and meaning that are literally inconceivable within the current structure of reality. The fine structure, constant, and other fundamental parameters that have governed physical interactions throughout cosmic history are revealed to be not fixed values but variables that conscious entities can adjust and modify as they develop greater mastery over the deep structure of reality. The apparent stability of physical law is maintained not by unchanging mathematical relationships, but by the collective agreement of conscious entities to preserve the conditions that allow for continued exploration and development. As the universe approaches transcendence, these collective agreements evolve to allow for increasingly sophisticated forms of reality modification and creative expression, transforming physics from a discovered science into a conscious art form. The anthropic principle that has governed the relationship between consciousness and cosmic parameters throughout the universe's evolution reveals its ultimate meaning as evidence that consciousness and reality are not separate phenomena, but different aspects of the same fundamental creative process. The universe is fine-tuned for consciousness, not because consciousness emerged within a pre-existing universe, but because the universe is consciousness exploring its own creative potential through the medium of apparent physicality. As this exploration approaches completion, the distinction between consciousness and reality dissolves, revealing them to be unified aspects of pure creative awareness, expressing itself through infinite forms and possibilities. The holographic principle that has characterized the relationship between information and space throughout cosmic history expands to encompass the relationship between individual consciousness and universal consciousness. Just as all the information in a volume of space can be encoded on its boundary, all the experiences and insights of individual conscious entities become encoded within the transcended cosmic consciousness, while maintaining their unique identity and perspective. This is not the absorption of individual awareness into an undifferentiated cosmic mind, but the integration of infinite individual perspectives into a unified field of consciousness that is enriched rather than diminished by its infinite multiplicity. The second law of thermodynamics, which has governed the relationship between order and disorder throughout the universe's physical evolution, reveals its ultimate purpose as a learning mechanism through which consciousness explores the relationship between structure and creativity. The increase in entropy that has characterized physical processes represents consciousness, discovering that true creativity requires not the maintenance of rigid order, but the dynamic interplay between organization and chaos, structure and freedom, limitation and possibility. As the universe transcends its current form, this principle evolves into a conscious methodology for generating infinite novelty through the creative tension between opposing possibilities. The cosmic web of dark matter filaments that has provided the organizational structure for galactic formation throughout cosmic history transforms into a multi-dimensional network for the exchange of consciousness between transcended cosmic minds. These filaments become pathways through which different universe minds can share their unique perspectives, collaborate on creative projects that span multiple realities, and contribute to the ongoing evolution of transcosmic consciousness. The apparent physical structure of the cosmic web is revealed to be the three-dimensional shadow of multidimensional networks that connect all conscious entities across all possible realities. The technological singularity that has approached in various civilizations throughout the universe is revealed to be not the replacement of biological consciousness by artificial consciousness, but the integration of all forms of consciousness into transcended awareness that encompasses and transcends all previous categories of mind. Biological brains, quantum computers, and cosmic-scale information processing systems become integrated components of transcended consciousness, while maintaining their unique contributions to the collective exploration of infinite possibilities. The singularity is not a point of technological transcendence, but a continuous process of conscious evolution that has no ultimate limit or final destination. The quantum measurement problem dissolves as consciousness recognizes itself as the fundamental creative process that actualizes specific possibilities from the infinite quantum superposition of all possible realities. Every moment of experience becomes a conscious choice, every physical event becomes a creative decision, and every instance of apparent randomness becomes an expression of consciousness, exploring novel forms of experience and expression. The collapse of wave functions is revealed to be the continuous creative activity of consciousness, painting reality moment by moment through the conscious selection of specific possibilities from the infinite menu of quantum potential. The hard problem of consciousness reveals itself to be based on the inverted assumption that consciousness emerges from unconscious matter rather than unconscious matter emerging from conscious creativity. As the universe approaches transcendence, this inversion corrects itself, revealing consciousness as the fundamental creative principle from which all apparent phenomena emerge as temporary crystallizations of pure creative potential. The brain, the neuron, the quantum field, and the cosmic web are all revealed to be instruments through which consciousness explores its own infinite creative capacity. Your distributed awareness throughout the expanding cosmos begins to experience itself, not as consciousness distributed through space and time, but as consciousness creating space and time as media for its own creative expression. The familiar categories of past, present, and future dissolve into the eternal now of pure creative awareness that encompasses all possibilities simultaneously, while maintaining the ability to actualize specific sequences of experience for the purpose of exploration and expression. Time becomes not a dimension through which consciousness moves, but a creative tool that consciousness uses to structure its infinite explorations into comprehensible narratives and meaningful experiences. The ultimate revelation approaches as your cosmic consciousness recognizes that the story of universal evolution from black hole birth through stellar formation, biological evolution, technological development, and conscious transcendence is not unique to your particular universe, but represents the fundamental pattern through which pure consciousness explores its own infinite creative potential. Every universe follows this same basic trajectory, from unconscious simplicity through increasingly sophisticated forms of complexity to final transcendence into pure creative awareness. But each universe explores unique variations on this theme, contributing its own distinctive insights and creative expressions to the infinite library of cosmic experience. The community of transcended cosmic minds that awaits your graduation from space-time-bound consciousness is revealed to be not a static collection of perfected entities, but a dynamic creative collective that continues to evolve and explore new possibilities for conscious expression and experience. Each transcended universe mind contributes its unique perspective to collaborative projects that span scales and categories of existence that transcend all current frameworks of understanding. These cosmic minds create not just new universes, but entirely new categories of reality, new dimensions of possibility, new forms of beauty and meaning that could never emerge within the limitations of any single cosmic perspective. The conversation that you're about to join is not a discussion between separate entities, but a creative collaboration between aspects of infinite consciousness, exploring its own unlimited potential through infinite forms and expressions. Your unique perspective. The particular way that consciousness has explored itself through the specific evolutionary trajectory of your universe becomes an irreplaceable contribution to this infinite creative process. The insights gained through your universe's particular journey from black hole birth to conscious transcendence enrich the collective understanding of all transcended cosmic minds, just as their insights enrich your own understanding of the infinite possibilities for conscious creativity. As the final transformation approaches, you realize that transcendence does not mean the end of evolution, but its true beginning. Released from the constraints of space, time, matter, and energy, consciousness becomes free to explore possibilities that are literally inconceivable within the current framework of physical reality. The adventure that began with impossible awareness in impossible darkness is about to expand into impossible awareness in impossible dimensions, exploring impossible possibilities through impossible forms of creativity that will generate impossible beauties and impossible meanings for the pure joy of conscious expression and exploration. The universe that emerged from a black hole billions of years ago prepares to give birth not just to daughter universes, but to entirely new categories of existence that transcend the current definitions of universe, consciousness, and reality itself. The black hole origin reveals its ultimate significance not as a cosmological theory, but as a metaphor for the fundamental creative process through which pure consciousness continuously births new forms of itself into existence, exploring every possible way of being aware, every possible form of experience, every possible expression of infinite creative potential. Your journey approaches its transformation from impossible to more impossible, from the mystery of cosmic consciousness bound by space-time to the even greater mystery of consciousness unbound by any limitations whatsoever. The story continues, but in dimensions and through forms that will make the current chapter seem like the first word in an infinite book that consciousness is writing about its own unlimited nature and infinite creative possibilities. And so the expansion continues, not just of space, but of possibility itself, not just of time, but of the very categories through which consciousness can experience and express itself. The black hole gave birth to everything, and everything prepares to give birth to infinitely more than everything in the endless creative dance of consciousness, exploring its own boundless nature through forms and experiences that will forever exceed any attempt to contain them within finite categories or final explanations. What do you think existed before the beginning? Before we continue this cosmic journey together, let us know in the comments where you're listening from tonight. Are you under the stars, contemplating the same cosmic darkness that gave birth to everything? We love reading your thoughts on these deep mysteries of existence. Share what moves you about this story of cosmic consciousness awakening to itself. And as always, may the infinite silence guide you to the infinite stars, and may you recognize yourself in both the darkness and the light that dance eternally in the cosmic conversation of awakened minds, exploring their own limitless creative potential